Udo, just make sure I did this right. Can you just make sure I'm doing this right?
You've done it right.
Okay. Ooh,
Someone can hear you.
Okay. How does my voice sound?
A little low.
Okay. I'm Barbara. Nice to meet you. John, you coming in?
I'm Gordon.
I'm sorry?
Gordon.
Gordon, nice to meet you.
You too. Where are you from?
New York. What about you?
Columbus.
Columbus, Ohio. Very nice. And
hello.
This is my husband, Jonathan. That's Gordon.
Hi,
hello, Gordon.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but we can't see you. I don't know.
I can hear you very well.
I need you to move over a little, maybe.
Do you want to come?
Hi.
Hello.
You should be able to see me.
I see you, but I don't know how to use this fancy.
We see him. We see him.
All right, we see you.
Hello?
Hi.
Hi. Can you see me? I'm Ruth Joplin.
Perfectly.
Okay,
You look
great.
marvelous.
You do
John,
too.
and
You do
this
too.
is Barbara.
Hello.
I'm Ruth.
Where
I
are
am
you?
Gordon. Gord.
Hi.
Where are you from, Ruth?
I'm from outside Philadelphia.
Okay. I was just visiting my brother in Bala Cynwyd.
I'm right near Ballackinwood.
Yeah.
What's your brother's name?
Joel Hecker.
Don't know. Oh, well.
He teaches at the Reconstructionist Rabbinical Institute.
Okay, great. That's great. I'm familiar with it. Know other people who teach and learn there.
Right.
Yeah.
This is everybody's first time doing the ride?
You bet.
It's ours.
Yep, me
What
too.
about you? And you too?
Yep.
Okay. So we didn't know which group to sign up for, so we're figuring we'll listen to everybody.
Oh, okay. I wanted to be in Shomrim because I didn't want to, I wanted it to be relatively easy.
Yeah, and I agree.
Yeah, we're doing that too.
Pretty sure, right.
Are you training?
I started. I got a little slacked off a little bit, but I'm going to start again. How about you?
A little bit.
Pretty
Okay.
much, not a little bit. We've
Well,
been
yeah.
training. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we live, we live in an area where there's a college, SUNY Old Westbury. So there's little traffic when you go there on the weekend, and it's kind of like hilly. So you could
Oh, that's good.
yeah, if I survive it, it is good. So it's definitely a good workout, but wow, so we're trying to do that when we can.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Good. We have a
With the trail.
trail about near Ballackinwood. We start in Ballackinwood, and it's a nice long trail, but it's flat. So sometimes I go in my neighborhood where it's hilly, just hills.
No, I know. And can you hear? Are you still there? Everybody's moving. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm not familiar with this stuff, but yeah, I get so scared riding in traffic. So
Yeah, I don't want to do that. Yeah.
So it's hard. Whatever. So I have my little mirror, and I'm like cursing at the drivers, like they're gonna hear me. It makes me feel better though. So, but whatever. It's really nice to ride. It feels good. So
Yeah, for sure.
So it said Miriam joined the meeting. I think she's the leader. Miriam, maybe.
There she is, but she's on mute. I'm sure she'll unmute in a second.
Oh, it's up to her to unmute. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. How are you, Mary?
Hello. Look at all you beautiful people. Hello.
Oh, you don't have good video, huh?
Do you not?
We do, but we're not so
My
good.
video
She's being
is
polite.
fantastic. My video is fantastic. How is everybody doing this evening?
We're good.
Terrific.
Wonderful.
Hey.
I am glad to hear it. Okay, well, we
Where
have
are
6.
you? Are you in
Sorry?
Israel? Are you in Israel?
I am not in Israel. I am in New York City, which is kind of like Israel, but
Right.
the hummus isn't nearly as good.
Okay.
All right.
And
so
that's
wait-
Kurt Cobain back there, in case you were wondering.
Who's back there? Who?
It's Kurt Cobain.
Yes.
Oh,
He
okay.
should rest in peace.
Right.
You should rest in peace.
Right.
People have asked me, they're like, who is that? It's my roommates. It's a great painting. Anyway, we're gonna wait a couple more minutes. We still have a few minutes. And then I'll go over the itinerary. If we're a small group, even better. It means that we can A, get through things faster, and B, I can answer more of your individual
Great.
questions. I have been the Shomrim leader for all the years that I've been on the Israel ride. So I am probably the best person on staff to answer Shomrim questions. And I was actually the one to advocate for individual logistics calls so that people per group can ask questions without worrying that, they're asking questions that will be annoying to the other groups. And truly, between you and me, I had the Shomrim in mind because I don't want anybody to feel like they don't want to ask questions that are not available to, or not like, I don't want to ask this question because I'm a Shomer, which is silly because Shomrim are awesome. So there's going to be an individual call every night for Shomrim, Sofim, which is the middle group, and Chalusim, which is the longer distance, faster riding group. And each of the meetings will more or less cover the same things The difference lies in is that we will focus more on the experience of Shomrim tonight. So if you're thinking about joining the Shomrim group, or you're with a group of people and you are representing somebody else, certainly you can ask questions about any of the groups or switching groups, etc. But we're going to focus on the ride from the perspective of a Shomer, which is a single Shomrim person. And and hopefully this will make you feel comfortable and get excited. So let's see, it's 7:59 now, and let's give it another 5 minutes, because sometimes, you know, for the folks, and then we will start, because you have all been on time. Ruth gets the gold star for being like extra early.
I was worried about the technical issues.
No,
Ready, I'm with you, Ruth.
That's fantastic. Early is good. A very good friend of mine grew up in a very German Jewish household. And she said that when she was young, she would get into trouble for being almost late, which is on time.
Right.
And her grandmother used to say, "You were almost late." And she's like, "Bubby, it's 5 minutes before." And she's like, "It's almost late." Late.
I know. But I had a boyfriend whose mother used to say, "It's a good thing you came home on time. I was getting ready to worry." So I know what that means. Like, you get your cake out, you get the alcohol, and I'm getting ready to worry is an interesting concept.
It's true. Where is everybody from? I recognize the names, but I recognize all of your names. And Roy, I can't see your beautiful face. So, but tell me where everybody physically is right now.
Long Island.
Long Island. Gordon, where are you?
Columbus.
Columbus, Ohio, right?
Yeah.
Stan, where are you? Oh, you are muted. Let's unmute you. Let's see. Can I unmute you? I can.
I think he has to unmute himself.
He might. They should be a way for me to.
All right.
Oh, hello. More people. There you are. Oh, in Baltimore. Hello. And we have Debbie, who's organizing her computer at the moment. And Roy, where are you calling in from?
He's also muted.
North Carolina, I'll represent him.
Oh, he's chatting. So he's from Durham.
Great.
This technology is unbelievable. Okay.
Probably should put on a light.
Okay.
I'm
We-
on the darkest one. Turn on the light.
I can't answer to this.
Okay, wonderful. For the folks that have just joined, we are just waiting a few minutes. The 8 o'clock bell went off, and suddenly we got 4 more people. So we're going to give it another 4 minutes, and then we'll get started.
We see you.
Hello.
Oh,
This is 4 minutes of awkwardness. What do we do?
well, we already went through who we are, but we have new people. Debbie, if you can unmute yourself, you want to let us know where you're calling in from?
Hi, it's Debbie Califf with Howard, and we're from Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Oh, hi, Debbie. Yes, I thought I recognized you. We went. I went out to Milwaukee earlier this month. Well, not July, but very recently, about 2 weeks ago, and I did a 20-mile bike ride with Debbie and her team, led up by David Barash. It was a lot of fun. Robert, where are you? You're able to unmute yourself.
Hi, it's Rob and Beth. We're from Maplewood, New Jersey.
Hey.
Actually, we're doing one of the tribe rides. We've done one already, but we're doing one in Brooklyn into New York Sunday.
Oh, yes. With Alan Freeman. Wonderful. And hello, Jane. Where are you calling in from?
Hi, I'm Jane Heifetz. My husband Larry and I are riding, and we're in Lexington, Massachusetts.
Wonderful. Welcome. And there's an 808-781-3928 number. Who are you? You can unmute yourself. It's okay. Some people are shy. Everybody is welcome. Hello, Karen Shapiro has just joined us. Going to wait another 2 minutes, and then we're going to get started. Hi, Karen. If you unmute yourself, then we'll be able to hear you.
Okay.
Very good. And where are you calling in from? Okay, Sharon, are you able to hear us?
Thanks, sweetie.
All right, we're going to start in just another minute. I'm actually going to ask if everybody can mute themselves. That way, when the dog barks and you get a call from Ed McMahon and you've won $1 million, the rest of us won't hear you scream. But we do expect drinks. And an extra donation to the Israel Ride.
Wait, when do you want me to unmute? How do you do that? Whatever. Anyway.
You're just going to mute yourself. If you go to the lower left-hand corner of your screen, you'll see a little microphone that says mute, and you can hit that, and then that will mute you.
So when do you want us to mute?
Now,
Just about now.
Why?
We're going to get started in 1 minute. It's 8:04. We're going to start at 8:05. Awesome. Great. 30 more seconds. Everybody's muted. It's no longer awkward because everybody's muted. The beautiful thing. Don't you wish you could do that in life? Just mute people sometimes. Okay, it's 8:05. Let's begin. I'm sure that additional people will join us, and that's great. But out of respect to the people who have come up, have been here on time, we are going to get started this evening. So hello, everybody. Good evening. My name is Miriam Leichling. I am the Director of Cycling Events and Engagement at Hazon. I'm also a longtime Shomer myself. I have ridden Shomrim for 5 years in a row. I love the Shomrim group. When I started working at Hazon and with the Israel Ride, the Shomrim group was much smaller. It was probably around 30 people. And last year it had grown in popularity, also given we had a large ride last year, but there were days of the ride last year where we had upwards of 80 Shomrim. And what that tells me is that Shomrim has grown from the group that was added on to accommodate additional people who wanted to do the ride, and it's become its own group in its own right. People often like to refer to themselves when they're in Shomrim as the people in the low group or the slow group. And I'd like to reframe everybody's thinking to be the sensible group, not the low or the slow. And the reason why I say that, all patronizing aside and all kidding aside, is because we have people of all different riding levels who join Shomrim. We have folks who, for them, this will be their first long distance bike ride. I only started bike riding as an adult probably about 10 years ago. And I started off doing the 5-borough bike ride, and then I decided to do a century, and that eventually led me to do longer distance rides. It's very, very exciting to have people on the ride for whom this is their first long distance ride. People come up to me all the time and they confess this is their first long distance ride. It's not something you need to confess. It's something that you should be proud of if that's where you are. And equally, people will come over and confess to me, I ride so much more, but I'm riding with my daughter, my knees are hurting, I didn't train before, I've done this ride 5 times and I want to tour. All of those are completely legitimate. And I'm here to tell you that at no point in the ride should you look at yourself or view yourself as lower than or the easy group. You're in the group where you've decided that you're taking on about 30 to 35 miles a day, which is a lovely, wonderful amount of riding to do per day. And then you're going to do some touring. And recognize that there are people of all ages. We probably have the broadest range of ages in our group. We'll have people as young as 13 in the group and as old as 80. So we have a very wide range of people who come on the ride and join Shomrim. And they're coming from a variety of different backgrounds. That's the first thing. And truly, I don't say that just to make you feel better. It's a pet peeve of mine when people, you can see they feel bad, and you should not feel bad. You should be very, very proud of yourself. There are a lot of people who can ride very long distances who have never taken on 5 days and 150 some odd miles through the desert. So what we're going to do this evening in the next we're going to say 45 minutes or so. I want there to be enough time for there to be questions. Is I'm going to go over some basics and logistics. I'm going to read you through some of the highlights that we're going to go over this evening. And then I'm going to open up for questions. I will have moments where I'm going to hit pause and ask if there's anybody who has a question. You can either raise your hand on the screen. If you look at the right hand side of your screen, all the way at the bottom, there'll be a little button that says raise hand. So if you don't have your video going and it's just audio, this will be a way for me to know that you have something that you want to ask. Otherwise, raise your hand on the screen and unmute yourself. We'll go in turns and we'll try to do this in that sort of way so that everybody has a chance to ask questions. But do give me a chance. It's very possible that the question that you might have is something that I'm going to tell you anyway. So what we're going to go over tonight is as follows. We're going to talk about bikes. We're going to talk about arrival and departure in Israel. We're going to talk about what your day looks like. We're going to talk about flights leaving from Eilat. This is especially important if you have been on the ride before, because there are some major differences to the way the flights are working this year. And oftentimes when we have our fantastic alumni who come back, they are like, oh, I've done this before, I know what's going on. This is one piece you need to listen to because it could greatly affect your flight plans and your travel plans. So we'll talk about that. We'll go over fundraising a little bit in case anybody has any questions, but this really isn't about fundraising. This is about talking about the experience of being a shomer, being in Shomrim. We're going to talk about switching groups, and we're going to talk about what happens if you don't feel like you're going to finish out the day properly. In addition to that, we'll probably branch off into some other topics as they come up. I've done a lot of these meetings and a lot of you have excellent questions and they generally follow a great pattern that segues one into the other. So we're going to cover a lot of material very quickly, and I'm not going to pause for questions now because I want to try to get through the material, and then give me 10 minutes, 8 minutes, and we'll pause for the first round of questions. Okay, so you are a shomeret, and you are coming on the Israel ride. First thing that we're going to talk about is getting to the hotels and what happens at the end of the ride. Some people bring their own bikes and some people rent their bikes. In the Shomrim group, it's pretty evenly split. A lot of the people who are renting bikes in the Shomrim group. The first thing you need to know is if you are renting a bike, please make sure you have filled out your forms on the forms portal. If you do not know how to get to your forms portal, please email either myself or Jesse. We'll give you the information at the end of the event, and we will email all of you the information afterwards and set up a time to speak to either me or my colleague Jesse Karsif, and we will happily walk you through the forms portal and figure it out. We were considering showing it in this screen, but I don't know about you. I don't always do so well when somebody else is showing me something on a screen and I'm not in front of my own computer. So I'm going to project a little bit, assume that you would rather have some one-on-one time. So if you don't know how to get to your forms portal, let us know. So if you're going to rent a bike, you need to let us know so that we can set a bike aside from you in our fleet. We have our own fleet of bikes. They are generally giant or specialized. We have hybrids and road bikes. They are not the top of the line, but they are also not 40-pound bikes that you get from your local sports store. They're decent bikes, probably in the $600 range if you were going to price it out, which is about decent entry level for a hybrid bike. Our mechanics are fantastic. So if you have a seat that you are sitting on or pedals that you're comfortable with, if you have a particular layout of your handlebars that you want us to use so that your back is aligned a certain way, no problem. Let us know. We'll just so that we're aware, but bring them with you. And our mechanics who have been working on the ride for years and years and years will kit out your bike, your rental bike, so that you have your own bike, seat, and your own pedals and your own handlebars. If you're concerned perhaps that what you have may not be able to be retrofitted onto one of our bikes, email us directly. We can always, if you have a picture and a serial number or an example of what you need, we forward it off directly to the mechanics and we ask them and we say, hey, can you work with this? 99% of the time they say, yes, they can. So that's if you are renting a hybrid bike or if you're renting a bike in general. We also have road bikes, same story. If you want to bring your bike and you've never assembled or disassembled your bike, no problem. Neither have I. You could bring your bike to your local bike shop. If you have a bike box, great. If not, you can buy one from your local bike box. They will disassemble your bike for you. They will package it up and you will take it home in your car and bring it to your airport. And when you get to Israel, if you let us know in advance that you are bringing your bike, very important, you have to know in advance. There is a company that we work with that will pick your bike up for you at the airport, bring it to our start location so that it's in the same place as all the other bikes will be when we have our mechanic and our setup period right before the ride. This is especially wonderful if you plan on coming a few days early to visit family or friends or tour. You do not need to schlep your bike around with you, which is amazing. And on the back end, when we get to a lot and you have your bike and suddenly it has to go back to being disassembled in a box, the mechanics will disassemble it for you. Important to remember is that we will be having upwards of 150 to 170 people all clamoring to talk to the mechanics at the same time. If you are planning on traveling, oftentimes we'll get a question, hey, if I leave tonight, is it okay, meaning the same night? Give yourself time. Every year we have a few people are super stressed because they need their bike disassembled and then they need to get to the airport, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. If you can gift yourself at least the night there and to leave the next day, you will find that you are a lot less stressed because we can't, unless you show us a ticket and we work it out with you in advance, it's kind of first come, first serve with the mechanics. So do give yourself time if you have it, but our mechanics can definitely disassemble that bike, package it up for you. When you go back to the airport, even if it's not right after the ride, our super duper company will take your bike back and, they will take the bike, you fly back to Ben Gurion and they will bring the bike to you. And then the last thing to remember is that when you are in Ben Gurion Airport, give yourself plenty of time. Basically, the name of the game is throughout this trip, pad your timing. Because when you're traveling with a bike, you can get stopped at security. They might open your box. They might look through the whole thing. It might be very upsetting to you. It's not just you. Israeli security is extremely tight on both ends. So if you give yourself time and know that this is just sometimes part of the deal, it should not affect your plans. Okay, I'm going to stop talking. Is there anybody who has any questions about bringing their bikes, assembling bikes, renting bikes?
Raise your hand.
Yes, Barbara.
Hi. I actually called Jessie because we're going to rent hybrid bikes.
Okay.
And, I wanted to look up the bike to see, because I'm deaf in one ear, so it's very important that I have a mirror.
Sure.
So she told me that it was a Specialized Cirrus Sport Unisex year 2016.
Yes.
I couldn't find it online, but should I be contacting Jessie to contact the mechanic? Because it would be just easier if they tell me what kind of mirror to get that'll fit on the bike, or whatever. It's too complicated otherwise, because that's really important for my sanity, if anything. So is that what you recommend? Speak to Jessie and then she can contact the mechanic and they could just tell me what mirror that goes on the handlebar.
Yeah. Yes, that's fine. And we want you to feel comfortable. The bikes that we have are generally, we trade them out after 4 to 5 years, or when they have a certain amount of mileage on them. They tend to be low mileage bikes. Having said that, if they're not coming up online, it might be a discontinued model. You know, we're a nonprofit, so if the store has extra, So, yeah.
And one other quick question. I don't want to hog the time, but she did say unisex. Does that mean, there's a bar there, like the guys have a bar? I like to be able to jump off my bike.
The bars tend to be at an angle. So there isn't a straight bar across with the hybrids. Yeah.
So it's girl friendly. Okay.
It's girl friendly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions or raising hands? Let's see. Yes, Robert.
Yeah, when we were planning to extend to go to Petra.
Mm-hmm.
So are the bikes going to be sent back towards Ben Gurion? Are they going to wait for us until we're done there?
So this is the reason why I love this service that we have. When you get to the end of the ride on Monday and you bring it to your mechanics, you will, because we're going to know what your flight schedule is. Again, this is, I'm going to say it a million times, this is the reason why it's really, really important to get into your forms portal and fill out all that annoying information that we ask. Robert, what we're going to do is we're going to pack your bike up. We're going to give it to our service providers. They're going to hold the bike for you until you arrive at the airport. So in theory, you could go to Petra and then go to Amman and then hang out in Tel Aviv for 2 weeks. As long as we know when you are flying out of the country, we will hold on to the bike for you, so you won't have to worry about it. And it will be given to you when you get to the airport. Now, I know Jessie often says this in her spiel, but it's worth repeating. We have thought many times of how on earth we can get our North American and Western country people to feel comfortable with the way the service works. They are wonderful. They are very professional. They are also very Israeli. So it's not going to be like a guy or a gal with like a tag and a happy bright colored blue t-shirt that says, hello, we are the bike people. It's just going to be a bunch of dudes hanging out on the side of the, you know, the area that you'd pull up when you're disembarking with all of your, kind of like where the cabs take you with the bikes. And they're going to be like, excuse me, your bike, and they're going to hand you your bike. That's it. I know it sounds a little sketchy. It's not. The reason why we tell you is because we want you to feel comfortable. We've been working with these guys for years. Maybe this will be the year that I could get them to wear a t-shirt. We'll see. But the bike will be there when you get to the airport. So you will communicate with us as to when you plan on getting to the airport, and they will be waiting for you with your bike, right in front of the area where you walk into Ben Gurion, like right in the front. More questions? More questions. Were there other raised hands? Let's see who else we got here. Yes, Stan. How can we help?
Just clarify that point before you leave it.
Sure.
You're saying that we do not travel with our bike from
That's
Eilat to Ben Gurion. Our bikes are going to be dispatched to Ben Gurion without us having it with us.
That's correct. I mean, look, if you want it, you are welcome to. It's
no, that's fine.
It's very annoying.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just confirm.
Yes, you will hand your bike to the mechanics. We will know your travel pattern. We will know when you are leaving. We will know when you plan on getting to the airport within a certain window, and that is when your bike will be waiting for you in front of the entrance to Ben Gurion at that time, but not before. So you are free.
Thank you.
Of your bike. Other questions? More questions? Okay, we will continue.
I had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see your hand. No, please speak up. Hi, Karen.
Put my hand up. Now really put it up.
Now I can see it. Okay.
I was thinking of bringing my own bike, but I do have to leave after the ride. I have to leave that night. Is there? And you said it was disassembly was first come, first serve. Is there a way to get special dispensation if you really have to leave that night?
Yeah, yes. Well, that's a good question, and I'm going to survey the other people afterwards, and we're going to talk about leaving Eilat because that's really important and brand new information, and it will segue into your question. Yes, speak to Jessie, let her know what your flight is, and we'll try to make sure. What that will mean for you is when we get to the finish line at the end of the ride after the 5th day, we ride into Eilat, we go straight to the beach, and you can hang out there for 20 minutes, you can hang out there for 2 hours. It's a lot of fun. It feels really good after you've been riding for a long time. So manage your own time as well. The mechanics are not generally, though, to the opposite, because we don't want you to rush back and then be frustrated that you can't go sooner. The mechanics are on the road as long as we have riders on the road. So their first responsibility is to make sure that everybody gets to the end of the ride safely. Then they transfer over to the hotel and they set up for the breakdown. And breakdown generally starts at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So speak to Jessie, so that she can make sure of that. But just for yourself, also try to make sure that while you're having a great time and kicking back and having something cold to drink, be mindful of the time so you can get back to the hotel. Make sure that you are ready to go. Another thing to keep in mind is if you are not even checking into the hotel that night, another thing to keep in mind is pack your day bag that day with whatever you need to go faster. Because what ends up happening sometimes is we have folks who are not staying in the hotel that night, but their bag gets put someplace, and then you waste a lot of time trying to find your bag so that you could change because you're still, right? So for your day bag, and Shomrim get day bags because we get a bus, yay. Pack your day bag with, excuse me, a change of underwear, shorts, a t-shirt, whatever it is. Make sure that your passport is with you. That way, God forbid, something happens to your luggage, you can still get on the plane and we will figure it out.
Right.
But don't leave everything in your suitcase and then, you know, it might be a sticky situation for you later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a related question that can go on is, do you know, do the airlines require like hard packs for your cases?
They do
for
not.
the bike? Okay, because that's what one of my friends was telling me, and I didn't think so.
Well, I mean, you need to check with your carrier. There is
Yeah,
no universal, there's no universal rule. So if you already know who you're flying with, give them a call, let them know that you're bringing the bike, ask them what they require. But generally speaking, you know,
Okay.
I haven't heard that to be the case.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions about bikes? Okay, also keep in mind that if something comes to your head, we're going to keep going because I'm being mindful of time. You can always email us. We're both in the office tomorrow and we're happy to help. We're going to talk about a lot. Okay. So Barbara, are you raising your hand or you're just, okay, no, it's okay. I just want to make sure I'm not ignoring you. Okay, let's talk about a lot. So we have some interesting new breaking news. There has always been a little airport in Eilat. When I say little, if you've been to the Caribbean, if you've been on a trip where you land in a little puddle jumper and you walk out and, you know, the airport looks almost like a tiki bar, and it's very small. It's not fancy like that, and it's not pretty like that, but it's small like that. That was the Eilat airport. And when you flew back to Ben Gurion, you had two options. You could either fly straight to Ben Gurion, or you could fly into a smaller, more local airport by New York standards. If you're familiar with New York, I would say other cities, but I'm not familiar with them. That would be the equivalent of LaGuardia. It's a lot closer to the city center. Stay Dove has closed and Eilat Airport has closed. There is a new, much larger, state-of-the-art international airport about 30 minutes outside Eilat. It's called the Ramon Airport, and that is the only operating airport out of Eilat. This is important for the following reason. Even if you've been on this ride before, in the past, it took about 8 minutes to 10 minutes door to door to get from our hotel to the airport. Now you're going to have to assume that's going to take about 30 minutes. You have to get through Eilat traffic, which can look just like a lot of other cities, and then you have to drive up the highway. Excuse me. And when you get to the airport, it's going to take a little bit longer to get to your gate because it's now an international airport, which means you have to go through international security. So please, 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 keep that in mind if you are planning on leaving the same day. And even if you are planning in days following, it's very important to check the flight schedule to make sure that it syncs up with your flight leaving from Tel Aviv. It's also important to know that depending on the flight, you could fly home directly from Eilat, but you need to check with the airport. It's still brand new, and I think right now it is only making one connection point in Amsterdam and then limited connection points overseas. I would say probably by next year or definitely 2 years from now, you might be able to just hop on a plane from Eilat and go home. But very, very important. Also very important is that you don't have the option of flying into Stade Dove. You will only fly into Ben Gurion Airport. The positive of that is that if you are connecting your flight and you are immediately leaving, you are going directly into that airport. The slight negative to that is that if you are planning on staying in Israel for a bit longer, which many of our folks want to, you have to you know, it's just going to take you a little bit longer to get where you're going because you're at the major airport. In the past, the last thing I'll say about this is that there have always been multiple flights leaving all day long. I think something like 8 or 9 flights. Now there's only about 3 or 4. That might change in the future, but the most information we've been able to acquire from our Israel Ride director in Israel is that the last flight is at 9. There's a flight at 4, and I believe there's one flight that's a little bit earlier. But again, you need to pad in a lot more time getting to the airport and then getting to Ben Gurion and then connecting that to going home. So Robert, for example, you guys were planning on going to Petra, right? When you get back from Petra, excuse me, you just need to make sure that whatever you're doing when you get to Tel Aviv is syncing up with the flight that you're going to be taking out of Eilat. So any questions about this? And by the way, again, for your specific questions or needing to coordinate, we are here. You can get on the phone with us. We're happy to help you individually, but this is kind of like high level FYI. This is really important information for you to have a great finish to your ride. Questions? Anybody? Bueller? No. Okay.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
So in terms, do we have to go through then both security then in Eilat and Ben Gurion and need to allow enough time at both locations, or is it just once you get through Eilat, you've been passed through for the U.S.?
That's a good question. You'll have to go through security twice because they're 2 separate airlines. Eventually, in the future, not this year, if you can buy a North American or wherever you're flying in the world-bound flight, then it would be considered a stopover and you probably won't have to. But as for right now, we're still flying Arkia and Israel potentially, and those are local national flights. And then when you get to Ben Gurion, you would be getting your suitcases and you're going to have to check in again.
Okay, so therefore you have to allow enough time. Was it 3 hours that they were recommending at Ben Gurion? So if one's taking a midnight flight, the 9 o'clock flight wouldn't work. You'd have to take the 4 o'clock flight.
Correct. I would even say that if you're bringing your own bike, I might bump that up to 4 hours. And the reason why I say that is simply because if you get lucky or unlucky enough to have the police decide that you are serious enough and scary enough for them to look through your luggage, it's going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of extra time, and nothing makes things worse than being really stressed about your flight and speaking to an attendant who is not going to speed up because you need to make a flight and he feels like he needs to or she needs to check your bike to make sure that it's safe to get on a plane. So time is your friend. Time is definitely your friend.
And do we know yet as to how much time we should allow at the Eilat airport in terms of going through security to just?
That's a good question. We are still finding out this information because it's fairly new. I would say, excuse me, for a domestic flight, it's probably not that much different than here, even with your bike box. Oh, well, you won't have your bike box. That's if you're bringing your bike. It's not a problem. I mean, either way, if you're bringing your bike, it's not going to be with you when you fly to Eilat. It's going to meet you in Ben Gurion, which is even more helpful. So for a local domestic flight, 2 hours at most, I don't think you're going to need more than that. You probably could get away with less, but don't quote me on it, and please don't try, because that's when stressful things happen. But 2 hours should be sufficient. Great. Other questions, and we'll move on to a little bit about Shomrim in particular, riding, changing groups, and all of that. Okay, good group. I like this group. They're like boom, 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 boom. Okay, so being a Shomer, so we are going to be riding every day for about 30 to 35 miles. You should be training at this point. I hope you are training at this point. The common questions we get are, what should I do to train? Every body is different, so I don't have particulars, but what I will tell you is, instead of telling you exercises, I will tell you want to make sure that you have you are building your cardio strength, number 1. Number 2, you are building your quad and glute strength, and 3, you're building your core strength. The reason for those things are as follows. You could be riding flat for a long time. And maybe you live in Milwaukee where there are very few hills. Although I was there.
Yes.
They said there were no hills. There were hills. You know, some places in the country you need to look a little harder to find the hills. Some places it's a little bit easier. There will definitely be hills. There are a lot of hills, and the hills are probably the thing much, much more so than the distance that trip Shomrim up more, because they planned for the distance, they didn't plan for the hills, and they didn't plan for the heat and the hills. So you really want to make sure that your quads are strong, that your glutes are strong, and that your core is strong. The quads and the glutes will help you physically just pull that bike up and down the hill. Keeping a good, strong core is going to help you from getting a backache, from getting a neck ache. You know, core is often overlooked while we're trying to lift weights or do some other sort of strength training. But without your core, everything else is working harder than it needs to. And your cardio strength is, you know, you will get up the hill. Either you will walk your bike up the hill, you can sag yourself up the hill, or you can, you know, fight it out and climb up the hill. Your heart is going to be racing. It doesn't feel particularly awesome when you're winded and it's 85 degrees outside and the sun is beating down on you. The other thing you want to practice doing is making sure that you drink a lot of water. A lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us are generally walking around dehydrated all the time. Drinking a lot of water for the first time on the ride is not what you want to be doing to your body. You want to be nurturing your body and putting good nutrition in your body for quite a few weeks before you get on the ride. It will make a difference in the way your muscles respond. It will make a difference in the way your body is able to respond. It will certainly help after you've all been on flights for a really long time. So whatever your training pattern is, make sure you are starting several weeks before. And if you want to use electrolytes, if you want to take tablets, if you want to have salt or whatever it is, try to figure that out now. It's hot outside. Everybody on this call will have hot days once in a while. If you can, try to get out during the days where it's uncomfortable. Obviously, be safe. But see what works for you. See what makes a difference. See what makes you feel like when you get to the end of the ride, you bonked, you don't feel good, you're nauseous or tired or cranky or whatever it is. And then think about what happened that day. Did you eat breakfast? Did you eat that day? Did you eat too much? Did you get on your bike and think, oh my God, I drank so much water, I was so nervous, and now all I have to do is pee? You know, like, play with this, because this comes up a lot for Shomrim. It definitely comes up for people who haven't done a lot of long distance bike rides before. So all of these things will give you a better experience in the end. I deeply believe that everybody on this call is physically going to be able to do it. It's just a matter of how happy or how miserable you're going to be while you're doing it. Having said that, one of the things I love about the Shomrim is that it is such a non-judgmental group. And I'm not saying that in a kind of like, you know, campy way. I'm being really serious. People are very, very supportive. It's a place where you're going to do what's good for you, and everybody else is going to be like, that's cool, let me know how I can help. If for whatever reason you are riding along and you're like, I just can't, I'm jet lagged, this heat is more intense, my calves are cramping up, whatever it is, first of all, I know that internally sometimes we get really frustrated, and that's okay, but please, please, please go easy on yourself. Please do not, you know, bang yourself over the head. And you know, I know, because people will say to me all the time, they start apologizing, like, normally I'm much stronger and I don't know what's going on today. It's hot. There are hills. You might be jet lagged and you're in a completely new environment, and maybe you're not on your regular bike, et cetera, et cetera. Cut yourself some slack. Take your time. You will not get lost. People are always worried, what if I get lost? What if I don't bring my Garmin? What if I didn't bring my cue sheet? It's okay. It's really, really hard to get lost on the Israel ride. For every group, there is a leader and there is a sweep. And then everybody says, oh, I'm going to be your slowest rider, which is funny because I usually have about 20 people saying that, all vying for I'm the slowest rider. You're almost never the slowest rider, so don't worry about it. You will never be left behind. The sweep has to stay behind the slowest rider. And if for whatever reason we feel that the sweep and you are so far behind the rest of the group, we might come over to you at some point and say, listen, can we jump you ahead? We see that you're struggling. We see that you're going really far behind. We want you to finish this ride on your own steam. but I want to be respectful and straightforward when I say that we will move you if your desire to ride is holding back the sweep from being there for the 50 other people who are in the group. So do what you can. Let us be there to help you if you need a slight nudge forward, and it'll work. It works. One more thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to pause because I want to take your questions about distance and riding, is that if you are thinking about Shomrim, but maybe by the end of the week you heard that the last day of riding is only 16 miles, which it is. It's a shorter day. And you want a strong finish. That's fine. There are several opportunities. I'm not going to go through the minutiae of the logistics. It's not worth it right now. I can either explain on the phone. We can set up an appointment. We'll also be telling you all of this information every day, every night. You're getting a briefing, and we're going to be reminding you, and there'll be boards with the information as well. But you can switch. So if you start off in Shomrim and you feel like you want to be stronger, even if you're planning on being Shomrim for 12 months, and then the day of the ride comes and you say, I'm feeling strong, this is good. Actually, this is a little too easy for me. You can switch. Or let's say you want to hang out with your friend or your spouse or whomever it is in a different group. There are times where you'll be able to switch up, and there'll be times for you to be able to scale back. So don't feel like you need to be locked in. And on the other hand, don't feel like you need to feel like, I don't want to try something more. What if I can't keep it up for 5 days? That's okay. And that's one of the things that's really fantastic about this ride, is that there's the fluidity at moments for you to go up and come back and play around with that. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Questions about riding bicycles? Questions. I'm trying to make sure that I see everybody on the screen. Let's see. Yes, Jane.
Miriam, how hot is it likely to be?
That is such a good question, and it's so hard for me to answer. I can tell you what happened last year and maybe 2 years ago. In the mornings, breakfast is usually around 6, and we're generally on the road around 7. It will, generally speaking, be in the 60s in the morning. Sometimes it might be a little bit colder. Sometimes it might be a little bit warmer and more humid, especially in the north, especially by the second day when we're by Ashkelon. We're right next to the water. The sun comes up. It can be a little bit steamy. Last year, the first day, we had a Hamsim, which is a heat wave. Wow. And it was 90-something degrees. I had no idea, but let me tell you, I got off the bike and I was thinking, what on earth is wrong with my riding today? I'm really not feeling strong. And then I found it was like 98 degrees outside or something.
Wow.
So, that's not generally the case. And then, by the way, 2 days later, it rained, and then it was cold and everybody was wearing their jackets. So I would say plan for cool mornings, but not cold mornings, and plan, especially as we go further south, for it to get into the 80s during the day, especially because there is no cover. There will be no trees. There'll be no shade. So even if it is dry and 78, it's probably going to feel warmer because you're climbing hills and because you're under the sun for extended periods of time. People ask about, what do I wear to protect myself? Some people are coming post, like a skin cancer, or they have like particular skin issues. Make sure you're wearing a rash guard. Make sure you're wearing a visor. Every year they're always the dermatologists. They have these like funky visor things that go around their helmets, and they look like firefighters. And I'm like, dermatologist. But there are ways for you to, make sure that your skin is covered, and you have to drink a lot of water. But assume cooler in the morning, hot in the afternoon. The one night where it generally tends to get really cold is Saturday night. We do Havdalah. We do a closing Shabbat ceremony right next to the edge of the Machtesh, the crater. Don't call it a crater. It's not a crater, but I'm going to call it a crater. Right next to the edge of the big, thing that we have Shabbat at, and it will be cold. You will be very happy. Future self will thank your current self for packing a fleece hat and some sort of mid-layer that goes under a light jacket for any time that you're going to spend near the crater while we're there over Shabbat. It can get quite windy and cold. But don't start packing like lots and lots of things. You won't need it. It'll be a waste of space in your thing. But a nice warm fleecy hat will make a difference. Yes, Gordon?
Miriam, will there be laundry facilities?
Excellent question. Will there be laundry facilities? There will be laundry facilities on Friday when we get to the hotels in Mitzvah Ramon. Here's the deal. You are given a small laundry bag, and you are asked to fill the laundry bag only half. The reason for that is that otherwise people will take the entirety of their suitcase, magically squish it. We have some very smart people on the ride. Like they squish it into this little bag, and then it gets put into this industrial-sized washing machine. Nothing gets washed. Everything gets wet. The bag inevitably splits, and then somebody's unhappy. So you will only put, you know, your shorts and a top and some unmentionables, and that's it. What I do is I actually wash everything in the sink. Every room in that hotel has like a drying line in the bathroom. You'll see it attached to the walls. It kind of looks like this silver thing, like a round silver thing. There'll be like a little cord, pull it across, it attaches on the other side. It's a lot faster. You get to wash more, and it's so dry there that if you do it Friday afternoon, by Saturday evening, everything will be dry. That's what I do.
The other nights, before Friday and afterwards?
Possibly in a lot, but it'll be on your own, and you'll have to speak to concierge about it. But the one night that I know for certain that there is laundry and that you'll have time to do it will be on Friday afternoon. You can give it in, and you'll get it back on Saturday evening.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
More questions? Yes. Is that a hand? Barbara question. Yes.
Yeah. Hi. How long does it take to ride 35 miles?
That's a great question. That depends on you, but I'll tell you how we make sure that we start and finish at a certain time. Every day when we head out, especially for the Shomrim, the Chalatzim do not have this, so it is group specific. There will be mandatory rest stops. Then there will be non-mandatory pit stops. A pit stop is generally smaller than a rest stop. It'll have less food. It will have a bathroom, there will be water, but it's meant to be a quick in and out, right? You come in, you get what you need, and you get on the road and you keep going. You don't even have to stop. You could just power through and get to the mandatory rest stop. You will know when you get to a mandatory rest stop because somebody will be on the road waving their hands, telling you to stop. If you get off your bike at every opportunity and you are walking your bike up a hill from time to time, and you are being incredibly kind and waiting for everybody else who has gotten off their bike for whatever reason, it will probably take you, if we get on the road at 7, you will not finish until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay? If you pace yourself, and by the way, if you're going so slowly that you are going to miss a rest stop, or you are so far behind everybody else that we can't keep everybody together, and the police and our logistics crew need you to be in a certain place at a certain time because those pit stops magically reappear someplace else because we're leapfrogging ahead. So we need everybody to pass through by a certain time so they can pack up and move to the next stop. If you're not doing that, if you're going so slowly, we're going to jump you. We're going to put you in a car. We're going to put you on the bus. We're going to move you ahead. And we'll figure out a plan so that you feel like you're getting what you need and we're making sure that you stay safe. If you're on the faster side, if you're at the head of the group, again, we all start together. So you'll be leaving at 7, but generally the front end of Shomrim comes in about an hour and a half before the back end. So, earliest you'll be in is at 2 on the average day. The latest will be 3 or 4. It just kind of depends on the day. And keep in mind, actually, I take that back. I'm talking about 12 o'clock in the afternoon because the end of the day, we're generally on buses touring, and then we arrive wherever we're going by bus. Excuse me. I was thinking about another group.
Okay, thank you.
So in other words, sorry.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So in other words, like the structure of the day for a 35-mile ride is, I guess, of course, we're Jewish, we're going to stop for lunch. So is it structured so that it's like 20, lunch, 15 or kind of thing? And then
Good question. Yeah. You will have a pit stop or a rest stop about every 10 to 15 miles. Lunch is mandatory, and for Shomrim, it is the end of our day. So when you are at lunch, we have a bus, which Sophie has a bus, but not in the same way because it's just there in case somebody needs to hop on the bus and be sagged. We are all going to get on the bus because we are going to finish lunch and then we're going to go touring in the afternoon, and we are going to arrive by bus to wherever we're staying that evening. A common question people have is, well, if we're going to be on a bus, what am I supposed to wear? Okay, so my suggestion and my request as the person who often is the leader of the Shomrim group is you have a day bag. Sometimes people pack I'm not sure what and I'm not sure why into that day bag. It's like computers and social security numbers, and it's a lot of stuff. Keep it small. Make sure you have a quick change of clothing. So, you know, change of shorts, a change of top, under things, but make sure you're picking things that are easy to put on and not the things that when you're in a very tiny bathroom, if there is a bathroom, it's sticking to your skin and you're wiggling into it and it, you know, like not that. Don't wear that. And just make sure it's something that you can do quickly because we're going to have 50 people possibly using 2 bathrooms and change and get on the road so we can get to where we're going next quickly. So that'll go into your day bag. And then we'll get to our hotel. We'll have time to shower, time to relax a little bit. The Shomrim generally tend to, when we're with a group, the Shomrim often come in on the later end. So your friends who are in Sofim or Chalutzim might get there before you. So again, manage expectations about, oh, I'm going to Ashkelon, it's so exciting, I'm going to be going to the beach. You're going to be getting there a little bit later, and depending on the year, it's November, so the sun is setting early. So you won't have extended time at the beach because we're going to be touring in the afternoon. But it's generally wake up in the morning, get some food, get riding, finish riding around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, get on the bus, do a tour, arrive wherever we're supposed to arrive at around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. We have to be off the road before the sun goes down. And if it rains, we are off the road as well. No arguments. The police do not give us the licensure to be on the road if it's raining. Even if we all ride in the rain back home, the rains in Israel just start around this time, and there's this phenomena by which the rain hits the ground and it turns all the oil that's been sitting on the ground for 6 months since it rained last, and it's very much like black ice. It'll look like a regular street, and you'll step on it and you'll slip. Last year, we actually had one of our professional lead riders, a woman named Susie. She was in Ashkelon. It had rained for maybe 5 minutes. She stepped outside, stepped on the road, slipped, and broke her pelvis in 2 places. So we don't ride if it's raining, and we sometimes are not allowed to ride immediately after it rains. It can often be very frustrating to folks living in the UK or North America or Australia where they're used to doing it, but unfortunately we can't, and it's not up to us. More cycling questions. Yes, Ruth? You're gonna unmute yourself. Let's see if I can do it.
There we go.
There you go. Hello.
So what happens if you're just tuckered out? Can you get on the bus?
Yes, we have a fantastic sweep bus, and the bus is all the way behind. So here's what a Shomrim group looks like. You have your you have the police, you have a lead rider. Nobody goes in front of the lead rider. The Shomrim group is naturally going to have some people who are at the faster end of the Shomrim and people who are at the slower end, and both are fine. But if you're on the faster end, you cannot go past the lead. If you find yourself getting frustrated that you want to go faster than the lead every day, then it might be a good idea to move up to Sofim. Then there's the group. Then we have a sweep rider, and then I believe there is a police car behind, and then there is a bus. The bus is there specifically for you. If you get tired, you can hop on the bus. You're going to get off your bike in a safe place, wave down our mechanic, let them know that you're done for the day, or you'd like to, sag yourself, you want to support and gear yourself to the next big rest stop. Mind you, they're not going to we had a participant a couple of years ago who wanted us to sag her up every hill. It doesn't work like that. She got very frustrated that we wouldn't do it. We will sag you, and we're happy to move you forward so that you you're a little tuckered out and you want a little bit of a rest, but you do want to try to get to the end of the day, cool. Or if you're just not feeling it for whatever reason, you can hang out on the bus all day. There's another thing that we have. If you don't like big descents, there are a few places on the road where there are some pretty serious descents. This is exactly the sort of conversation I like to have with Shomrim, not with anybody else around. People like to get cocky about their comfort level on descents. I will be forthright in telling you that I hate going down big hills. I'm terrified of them. I always have been. I'm a long distance rider. I can ride 150 miles, no problem at all. Give me 1 2-mile descent at a certain steepness and I'm like white knuckled on the brakes. I just don't like them. Some people don't like them. Some people like them, whatever. There are certain descents that we know are a little bit more intense, and there will be somebody waiting at the top of the hill for you, so that if you, with a big sign generally that says big descent, and if you don't want to go down the big descent, we will put you in one of the cars. We will put your bike on a rack in the back. We will drive you down the hill, and then at the bottom of the hill in a safe spot, we will put you back on your bike.
Sounds good.
And there's nothing wrong with it. I've done it myself.
I'm not proving anything. Okay.
Yeah. People ask, where are the big descents? I'll tell you, on day one, when we leave Jerusalem, there is a fairly big descent. And something to get comfortable with is get comfortable riding with vehicles. The further south we go, the less vehicles there are on the road, but we are sharing the road with drivers, Israeli drivers, who are surprisingly really comfortable with cyclists. Like, they get it. They might honk at you. They might drive really close, but they know what they're doing. But get comfortable. It is safe. If at any time you do not feel safe, I bring you this up now because there is one larger hill in Israel on the first day that's not only steep, but the shoulder is fairly narrow, and we are driving with traffic out of the city during rush hour. So that's a lot. And some people are fine with it, and some people say nope. And again, we will have a sign. You will know in advance. We will let you know in the briefing beforehand. You can get in a car or on the bus, sag yourself down the hill, get back on the road. No problem.
Okay, thanks.
No problem. More questions. More questions. Yeah, we are burning through this itinerary. I love it. Okay, so we have 1 or 2 topics left. I want to talk a little bit about, see here, I'm just looking at my list, what the day looks like in general. We spoke a little bit about what happens when you get to the ride. I want to talk a little bit about the evening and how you are going to know what's going on the next day. So when you get to your hotel or kibbutz, you're going to, like I said before, you're going to have time to relax, unwind, and then there'll be a time for dinner. And after dinner, there is a briefing. Briefings are mandatory. You have to show up for the briefing. Even if you think you know, even if you've been on the ride, even if it's been kind of a hot and long, exhausting day, all of the information that you are going to want is going to be at the briefing. The briefings are there to help you be safe. We must get the same question 50 times during the day, and that's okay. A lot's going on. It's very stressful in a positive way. There's like a lot going on, but it is important to hear what's happening the next day. At the briefing, we talk about the following. We talk about how the cart day went. Did it go well? Were there things that came up? What we're going to do to improve them the following day? How is the weather? Questions that may have come up, etc. We're going to tell you what the schedule is for the following morning, what time you need to be up, what time breakfast is, where breakfast is, what you need to do with your bike, where you need to be when we're leaving. And sometimes there'll be extra information like, if you want to switch to another group, this is the night that you can switch. This is the commitment, because it's not generally switch for one night, it's generally switching for 2 nights. And here's what you need to do in order to switch. So all this stuff is super important. There's no reason to hold all this information in your head now. That's why we have the briefings. Shomrim are generally really good about showing up to them, but it is really important. That's what happens. And then generally people go to bed fairly early because you're up early, you're out all day, And so the nights tend to be pretty low key, with people just sitting around, having a beer, chatting, or going to sleep. But it tends to be pretty quiet after, I'd say, 9 o'clock, 9:30. And as far as clothing, because people will ask about that too, what do I wear? Whatever is really comfortable and casual for you after the ride. It is not a fancy event by any means. On Shabbat for Friday night and Shabbat day, there is the opportunity to go to services. They are lay leader led. There is generally some sort of conservative traditional partnership minyan. There is an opportunity to go to something that's a little bit more orthodox. There's also generally a reform minyan as well. And in addition to that, there is a class for folks who are just interested in learning about Shabbat and are not particularly interested in going to a service. All of those are available. You could do any of them, or you could just say, I really just need an extra hour in my room by myself. And that's my Shabbat. And all those are A-okay. We have a big meal together. People will get slightly more dressed. Right? They're wearing khaki pants as opposed to their jeans and a clean white shirt. Ladies will be wearing, clean slacks or a flowy kind of dress, but not fancy, not a lot of jewelry. No, people aren't like putting on a ton of makeup and doing their hair. You can if you want, I do, but it's a casual, relaxed environment, and dress however you would make you feel comfortable after wearing tight lycra with padding and being outside in 80-degree heat for 8 hours. Shabbat day. Shabbat day, again, has opportunity for services. There is also an opportunity to hear from our alumni, which is really awesome. They're the ones who are often the recipients of the scholarship money the money that you're raising often goes for scholarships for the alumni of the Institute. We'll get a chance to hear from them. They do breakout sessions and panel discussions. There are opportunities for hikes. There are opportunities to do yoga in the morning. There are opportunities to eat because we are the Israel Ride. We like to eat. And then at the end of the day, after sun is set, we will have Havdalah. We will go to dinner, and then we will have a briefing. And then Sunday morning, we continue on. We get up really early. There's an opportunity for a sunrise service. Even if you're not generally a services person, I do recommend going. It is lovely. It's over the crater right at the beginning of where we start our next really big descent that you can either go on or hop on the bus. And it's a wonderful photo op. It's a very special time. People tend to talk about it as a highlight of the trip. So that's a little bit about how the days work and a little bit of high level of what the scheduling is. Does anybody have any questions with scheduling, Shabbat, what happens afterwards, briefings, etc.? Yes, Gordon.
Miriam, the very first day.
Uh-huh.
Are we leaving from Ramat Rachel, or has that changed? And when is the first night that we are staying as a group together? Excellent
question. See, this is why I only lightly do the itinerary, because all of you ask the right questions always. Okay, the beginning of the ride. We ask everybody to be at the hotel on Tuesday. We will begin riding on Wednesday. We are not staying at Ramat Rachel this year. That's another piece of new information. In fact, we are staying at 3 hotels. You will be placed in one of 3 hotels, and all of the activities will be happening at one central location between the 2. Like, it'll be in one of the hotels, and everybody will be staying in different places. The reason for that is, as Israel becomes more and more popular as a tourist destination and as a convention destination, it is actually becoming much harder for us to rent out a single space for 170 people in the middle of the week for 1 night or 2 nights. Nobody wants to do that anymore, and they don't have to, because thank goodness, tourism is up, economy is up. So we are now in a couple of different locations in Jerusalem, and we will get bused to our start location, and we will begin riding on Wednesday. So, but the first night we're all together is the day before. You really do have to be there no later than, I think we say, ideally by noon, because we will have a luncheon for those folks who have already showed up. There will be opportunities to go and do tours in the morning. A lot of people come in Monday night, so there are optional tours of the old city, of various different Hazon / Arava Institute focused things that you can go on, like alternative communities, etc. And then you need to put your bike together. You need to, even if you are renting a bike, you still need to they put the pedals on for you there. They adjust the seat for you. You need to take the bike out and take it for a little spin to make sure that it feels good. Wednesday morning is not the time to realize that your bike feels uncomfortable. There is a time for us to be doing that the day before, and we need everybody there to do it. So many people come Monday night. Everybody needs to be there on Tuesday, and we start riding on Wednesday.
Tuesday, at what time should we be there?
I would say no later than noon.
Okay.
But if you want to be there for the, if you'd like to be there for the tours that happen in the morning, the tours I leave I believe at 7 o'clock in the morning. So that's really more ideal for people who have arrived the night before. But you really do want to be there. Now, hold on a second. I do see some chats that are coming up. I apologize if you were. Let's see. How often are there stops? I'm trying to press the engine. Excuse me one second. I'm reading this. Okay, I'm going to read off a couple of questions. Debbie, I apologize. You asked this question about 15 minutes ago, and I just saw it now, but I will read it anyway. We talked about stops. They're every 10 to 15 miles. And then the question is, what do we pack? Do we have to carry a backpack? So that's a great question. You do not need to carry a backpack. Really, everything that would be going in your backpack can live on the bus, unless you have medication that you want to keep on you. I would put that in like a plastic bag and keep that in your, like a little Ziploc bag thing, and keep that in your jersey. But you don't need to carry food if you don't want to. We have the rest stops for that. You don't need to carry a backpack with extra clothing. The bus will be there at every stop, so you'll have access to the bus. You'll be able to get there and, you know, get stuff out of your day bag if you need it. You don't have to worry about carrying too much water. We have a water carrier. You'll always be able to fill up your bottles of water. I carry a Camelback, by the way. I don't particularly like leaning down in between the bars to grab my bottle, and I don't like stopping and pulling over to the side of the road to drink. So I wear a Camelback, and that gives me a little extra room to carry, let's say, a credit card and my license. I have never used the credit card. There is nothing to buy. It's the middle of the desert, but I like to have it on me. So, you know, you could put a little something like that in, but you're not going to need more than that. If you need feminine products, we will have those available at the rest stop. Every rest stop has a car that is packed with all sorts of things, but if you have something that you want to use, we also have bathrooms at every stop, and we build our own bathrooms, and they are cleaner and tend to be less smelly and more airy than a porta potty. There will be toilet paper there, but if you feel very particular about what touches your skin, you might want to put a little bit of that into your, but all these things really should fit into the back of your jersey. You can wear a backpack, but you really, really don't have to. And let's see, Roy was asking, what are some of the afternoon tours on the days that we ride? We are still working on the scheduling for that, but in the past, examples of the afternoon tours have been, we've gone to an educational farm in the middle of the Negev, which is a lot of fun. You get a chance to see hydroponics in action. Fruit and vegetables being grown with very, very little water in very, very harsh conditions. It's a lot of fun eating of fruits and vegetables, and we get a chance to do all sorts of fun things and see all sorts of neat things. We've gone to Ethiopian villages before. We get a chance to go through some ancient caves. No, you do not need to go through the caves if you are claustrophobic. Yes, we will figure out a way to get you to the other side. We also take people to Timna Park often. That's right towards the end. That's a beautiful red rock canyon. If you've been out west, it's somewhat reminiscent of some of the like red rock formations you might see in Vegas or in Utah, etc. So they generally tend to be a mix of cultural, outdoorsy sort of things, or biblical, generally speaking. Okay, those are the those are the questions that I see written here, and I am recognizing that we're at 9:08. We started at 9:05. I'm going to keep this going for another couple minutes. I recognize if you need to go. Are there more questions, though? How else can I answer your Shomer or Shomeret questions? Okay, great. So those are the high-level topics that I had laid out for us to be discussing today. Raise your hand, or raise your hand on the on this chat if you've gone to your forms portal and if you've filled out your forms portal. Forms. It's okay if you haven't. This is not a shaming thing. If you haven't, or if you have questions, or you haven't yet done it, please, 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 I know I'm repeating myself, fill out your forms. It will help us help you. And if for whatever reason you can't find it, you don't know what to do with it, let me know. Let Jesse know, and we would be very happy to get on the phone. That is literally our jobs, and we are very happy to help you through that process. That is that, and we're at 9:09. Are there any other questions about any other topic? Yes. Barbara. Hello.
Yeah, hi.
Hello.
How do you fundraise on Facebook? Is there a way to transfer something to your Facebook page so that people can just click and make a donation?
That's a good question. So this year it's a little tricky. There is a way to do it. I'm going to speak to Jesse about that. We did have somebody who set up what's being asked is, Facebook has a way for you to set up a fundraiser. It's very easy. It's very intuitive. You put it up on your screen. You say, hey, for my birthday, I am raising, or it doesn't have to be your birthday, but for your whatever you want to raise.
Bicycle trip.
For your bicycle trip, click here to make a donation. That money cannot be linked to your, it can't easily be linked to the Israel Ride funds, but I know that there is a way to collect the money and then for the money to then be given over to the Israel Ride. What makes it complicated is that it's very hard for us to keep track of who your donors are. So if I give you $18 and Ruth gives you $18 and Stan gives you $18, we're not necessarily going to know, and then we won't be able to thank you. Good news is that we know that this is a problem. We've been using some very old, very clunky fundraising technology, and we are in the midst of a revamp. And for 2020, it will be much more seamless. You'll be able to pop it online, do fundraising, which is how a lot of people do it. So we recognize and we know that it's a trouble. There is a way to do it, but speak to us offline and we'll tell you how. But just recognize it might be very hard to thank your donors afterwards, and that may or may not, be something that you want to work on.
Right. So it's better probably just to ask people to go on the website.
It is. Also, I know people don't like emails or sending out an email, but don't underestimate the power of sending out an email to your friends. And if you've sent out an email, don't feel bad about sending them another email or a few emails. Actually, what I do professionally when we're planning out emails for the Israel Ride is we sit and plot out, a week or 2 weeks or a month or 2 months at a time to make sure that we are being mindful of the number of emails that you're getting and what the content is, etc. There's no reason why you couldn't do the same thing. So if you want to email people, let's say on Fridays, I don't know, you want to wish people a happy weekend or a happy Shabbat, and keep in mind that people give because they like you, because they trust that you're out there doing a good thing. Some of them will want to know what you're up to. Some of them will feel connected. Some of them are just going to give because they like you, or you've given to their charities, or whatever. And often we think in our heads that we're going to donate and then we forget. I could tell you right now, I have 3 people that every time I see a Facebook post or I get an email, I think, right, I need to donate, and then I don't. And I'm really happy that I get another reminder because I feel bad that I haven't done it yet. So plot it out so that you don't have, and definitely don't feel bad. People want to hear from you. They're doing this because they care about you and they care about what you're caring about. And if you pepper the emails with, here your riding stats, or the fact that you're trying to do something you've never done before, or, you know, they want to hear about you. They're connecting with you as much as they are connecting for the cause. And certainly, and again, it's beyond the scope of this particular phone call. We didn't focus a lot on fundraising, but if you want tips on what to say to talk about where the money is going or how that's helpful and fold that into your communications, let me know. We can set up a time to talk, and I'd be really happy to help you with that.
Hey, thank you.
Sure. Yes.
So the one thing that you can do on Facebook is you can if you put a post on and you just say go to israelride.org.
Exactly.
That will take them to a portal where it shows all the names of all of the riders. They can click on the name on your name, and then they can make a donation that way. And that's a way to use Facebook.
Exactly. And you could take that link and put it into emails. If you wanted to be really sassy, you could take that link and WhatsApp people, or text people, or whatever it is. We fully, like I said, we fully recognize that there are better ways and better systems, and it's not easy moving a ocean liner. So it's taken us a little bit of time to get there, but we are. And for this year, as Gordon said, the best thing would just be to attach a link and put it in your favorite place, wherever people are paying attention to you. Yes, Karen.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit, Miriam, about what the touring in the afternoon, what will be included, where?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. You want to wear comfortable shoes, right? So if you're wearing riding shoes or riding sandals, or, if you are wearing sneakers, that's fine too. But you want to make sure you're wearing comfortable shoes and comfortable clothing. We generally do walking. They're not generally bus tours. You're going to be off the bus, walking around. You might be in shade. You might be in the sun. You might be underground. It kind of depends on the day. The tours are not particularly long. We know that you've been out on the road for a long time and you are not interested in another 3-hour tour after that. So it will not be that. They're not generally food tours. We are hoping and expecting that you are eating at the rest stops and at lunch. So snacks are not generally included at the rest stops. And how fast we move has a lot to do with how quickly people change after riding and how quickly they move with the group. But assume like 30 minutes from lunch, 20 to 30 minutes to get to wherever we're going, an hour to an hour and a half of touring, and then another 30 minutes to 45 minutes to get to wherever we're staying for the evening, generally.
Okay, and can you share with us what sites you're planning on going to?
Sure. So we were talking about this before. We change that up every year, and we aren't able to nail it down exactly until we get a little bit closer to the event, and that has a lot to do with safety issues, weather issues, route changes. Sometimes the routes change because we find out that something's under construction that wasn't under construction 6 months ago when we did our first route test, so we have to move things around. But generally speaking, the last number of years, on the first day, we go to visit Beit Guvrin, which is a biblical cave system. We go to, we get a chance to see these farms that I said I was telling you about in the Negev. And the day we get to Kibbutz Keturah, which we haven't had a chance to speak to either, that is our tour for that day. You'll get a chance to see the kibbutz. You'll get a chance to see some of the research centers on the kibbutz. It's really interesting. And you'll get a chance to speak with the students. And then the last day, we generally do something like either we'll get you to Eilat earlier and you have more time to relax and be in Eilat or be wherever we're going. Or we'll go to Timna Park, which is this rock formation natural park. So it's that.
Okay,
sort of,
thanks.
Yeah. Other questions? Yes, Jane, hi.
Miriam, quick question again about the hills. Are there just those 2 really big descents, and about how many miles are each of them?
There are a lot of descents. The 2 that I mentioned stand out in my mind because one of them is the famous, if you've ever seen the pictures of the serpentine, twisty, 5.5 switchbacks going down the hill. By the way, of all the hills not to miss, that's the one as a diehard Shomrim, don't miss that one. Miss all the other ones, don't miss that one. It's actually not so steep. And if you're taking it at a decent pace, and when you get to the curve, you slow down or you stop for a second and, frame and keep going, you'll be fine. There are other hills that I would say, oh, it's just, no, why? Don't do it. 1 second, Ruth. There are hills pretty consistently every day. There'll be downhills. We do try to let people know. They don't mention as many hills when we're debriefing the whole group because they just assume that there are hills. I'm often telling the heads of the ride that what they think is a downhill or an uphill, a little one, other people who are less familiar with hills might see it as more. I'll give you one example. There is a big hill that we generally climb on day one. I was having a conversation with Howie Rodenstein, who is both my colleague and kind of my boss and also my friend, and we were having a conversation about the hill. And he says, well, I don't understand why you think this is such a big hill, Miriam. It's only like 500 yards. I'm like, 500 yards? What are you talking about? It's several miles long. And we sit there and we're having this debate back and forth. And I didn't understand what he was talking about until I realized his perception of the hill is the 500 really steep yards right before the end. And my perception of the hill is the second we hang a left and we start climbing and it's about 3 miles long. The hills going down, the big descent into Eilat is 7 miles. The big twisty hill is, I want to say 2 miles. They're generally, it's not necessarily the steepness, it's the fact that you're going downhill for a long period of time. Mm-hmm. And you have to feather your brakes often. And if you're not particularly comfortable going downhill, it just feels like it never freaking ends. Mm-hmm. That's really what it is. It's not like, you're not on a roller coaster though. Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
The hill that you said we shouldn't miss, the Serpentine one, where is that?
It's on Sunday morning, and it's the day. It's right after we spent the Shabbat in Mitzvah Ramon. We'll tell you about it. Don't worry. We'll let you know like 25 times.
Into the Machtesh.
Into the Machtesh, exactly. Yes.
Thanks.
Other questions? Yes.
I'm Larry. I joined you partway through. We're going to be renting hybrids from you, and I'm going to want to have a mirror. I assume they're not included on the hybrids.
They're not, and Barbara wants one too.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. Bring one. And Barbara was asking a question earlier about what kind of mirror will fit on the bike. Mm-hmm. So Barbara, if you can let Jesse know, I will remind Jesse, and if you could also, we'll share the information around so that if you want a mirror, we'll let you know which kind of mirror could work. A lot of people, though, they attach them to their helmets and not. I know that some people don't like those, and they, it's too much for the brain.
Also, it's what you train with. It's what you
sure,
use.
Sure, absolutely, yeah. So yes, you can, no problem. Anything you want to put on the bike, bring. Mm-hmm. I will say, in the same vein, if you're thinking about bringing a Garmin or some sort of thing to hold your iPhone or your smartphone, remember that you need to take it off at the end of the day, because those bikes, while we're careful with them, they go onto a truck and a trolley along with 50 other bikes and get schlepped around and not thrown, but it's pretty delicate, those things. So you want to take it off.
Yeah, as far as the mirror goes, some bikes will take bar end mirrors, which is what we have on our bikes at home, and those would be great. But not every bike will
take that. If you have a particular model that you're comfortable with and you've used, if you could take a picture of it and let us know what it is, we'll send it over to the mechanics and we'll see if they can retrofit it to our bikes.
Okay.
They very rarely say no. I don't know if that's an Israeli thing or if the bikes are just easily retrofitted. But we'll send it over and we'll see what we can do.
Thanks.
Wonderful. All right, I'm being mindful of time. I'm going to try to wrap this up at 9:30, but we still have a few more minutes. Does anybody else have any other questions? And keep in mind that if you don't have questions now, but something comes up the second we hang up, shoot us an email tomorrow and we'd be happy to answer them. Okay. Well, I will say thank you. I am very excited. Like I said, I love the Shomrim group. I think we're a lot of fun. We get out, we have a good ride. We're sensible about it. 30 to 35 miles, I think, is very sensible. And then we get a chance to rest and see a bit of the sights, the old-fashioned way by bus and not by bike. And so I'm very, very much looking forward to meeting all of you. A piece of information, Jesse is not going to be on the ride this year. So if you've been on the ride before and Jesse's been your logistics maven, I am taking over for Jesse in that capacity. Jesse had a baby earlier this year, and her son's a little too young yet for her to be leaving for 12 days. So she will be working on the ride and doing a lot of the logistics and your your flight plans and troubleshooting and whatnot, but she'll be doing it from New York. And I will be with you on the ride along with David Rensberg, who is a long time Israel ride person, as well as the rest of the team. And yeah, I'm excited to meet you. Thank you so much for showing up tonight. And
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
Yeah.
You said the other group has a conference tomorrow night?
I think so. I have to look on. Well, you have to, well, you know, you have to then, it's an email, and then you have to RSVP, and they give you, and you can use this. What they do is, in the RSVP confirmation, they'll give you like, they'll give you like the ID number. So you go into, I downloaded the app, Zoom.
Okay.
So go into the Israelite to confirm, and I'll send you the code. I think it's tomorrow. Let's see. Yeah, join a video call. So what?
Sophie.
Wednesday at 8 p.m. That's tomorrow. So you want to? Here,
so
let's
yeah.
RSVP here.
Okay.
You can tell me what's. Put yours or mine, doesn't matter. I'll put mine. No.
Well, how am I going to get the phone
Oh
number?
yeah. Put, you're gonna need my computer, I think. To
Why?
go on. Because you have to download the app, and then if you want to see them, computer.
But can I download it on my computer?
Yeah, probably. Can you download apps? I don't know how that works. Jonathan, Sam. Or you could just call in too. I don't know. I thought apps are just for, but I don't know.
How did you do it for this?
I use my iPad and I download it. They'll tell you what to do.
Okay.
Sophie, right?
That's it, Sophie, right? Okay.
Yeah, so you'll get the email and they're going to send you this. So it
Okay.
tells you what to do. Computer, I guess you could do it. You can join, you have to download.
Yeah, I could just dial my location.
Right. I don't know if you could see them, then it's easier to see them. Okay. Or you could, this isn't be here. So if you do use this.
What's your code? Is it 1756?
Yeah, 010756. You just go into this thing, Zoom. I downloaded it already, and then it's gonna leave meeting.